Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, and good morning. We are in July. Finally, it is the 1st of July, and Celtic are back in business this week. But yesterday, we signed Callum Osmond. We did get that deal pushed over the line. I'm sure it was a difficult one to hide from the media, but he was overwhelmed and he's loving the fact that he is at Celtic. He's loving the fact that he is at Celtic, and the big news of today is a player that was expected to leave Celtic has now left Celtic. Yep, he's been pictured abroad. It is one and only Greg Taylor. Greg Taylor has been pictured with his missus. I noticed they didn't have the kid with them. They've travelled over without the Wayne, as they say, but they're all smiles as they landed in Greece. And I've got to say, fair play to him. I mean, Greg Taylor is a player that he's had a lot of stick over the years, but he's been consistent. And he was consistent. He was consistent for Celtic for many years when we tried to get another left back and we tried to replace him. He just kept going. He kept digging away. Now, it's no fault of his own that he managed to walk away from Celtic for absolutely nothing. I mean, that's completely at the doors of Celtic and the power brokers that allowed such a valuable asset. You've got to remember that at one point Celtic valued Greg Taylor at £8 million. So for him to get his move abroad, and for me, I'm happy for the lad. I don't care what people say. I mean, he's a way to change his life completely. He signed a 3-year deal in Greece, and he'll love it. He'll absolutely love it. Do you know that excitement of leaving Scotland and going to a sunnier climate, and the fresh food, and just the whole difference of the weather for starters. So for me, it's au revoir, goodbye, cheerio, and are we glad to see the back of him? There's a bit of me that says no, we're not really glad to see the back of him, but he's a player that should have been sold. Everyone knows my view on it. He is a player that should have been sold from Celtic and not allowed to leave under freedom of contract. But it is what it is. It is what it is. We move on. So the player that signed yesterday, I noticed that the Celtic squad has not been updated as yet. It's not been updated, even though they were on the 1st of July and players are no longer at Celtic. Jeffrey Sloop, Greg Taylor, just to name a few. Matthew Anderson still in the squad. It'll be interesting to see which ones all disappear today if Celtic change it today. I mean, Ross hasn't even made and none of the new signings have made the team as yet either. So with that being said, there's one player that was back in training, said that he's delighted to be back. Absolutely delighted, and are Celtic delighted to have him back. It feels good, says Austin Trusty. He said, look, it was a short month off. I feel like it never really happened. It was a short break. We're kind of still in the groove when we came back. Seeing all the guys that you miss, it's good to be back. 26-year-old said that he's living life in Glasgow. Some of the fans will say he's just not good enough for Celtic and he needs sold. But it's called the One Celtic Fans View for a reason, and we're trying to get as many views. Greg Taylor will be back in Killie in a few years. Mikey boy, do you know the fact that he's went away? He's went away to a different country, moved away from his family. They moved their daughter over at one point. Do you know? For me, and I know what he's going to go through over the next year, and the whole mentality side of it. He's going to have his ups and downs, and fair play to him. Fair play to him. It's another Scottish. Put it this way: it's another player that could have been at Celtic that's decided to play in foreign country, and for me, I'm loving it. I think that fair play to him. Him and his missus will love it. And we move on. Ultimately, we move on, and we will move on from Greg Taylor because he is no longer a Celtic player. And the video that the website put out, that the Greek put out they put a couple of shorts video out on the website, and he's chuffed to bits, man. He's loving it. He's all smiles and he's like, "This is brilliant, man. This is." Do you know? It takes away for the he gets away from the bullshit that you get that comes with being a player in Scotland. And you know, he's going to go away and enjoy himself. And that's all you want as a football player. So I've got a lot of respect for him for doing it. And we move on. Anyway, another Celtic news. The brand new Celtic player took to Instagram yesterday. Callum Osmond, he posted a picture of him smiling, proud to be here, with a little green love heart. And it's going to be interesting to watch how this young lad's career develops, because if he's anything like the previous players that we've managed to take away from Fulham on the cheap, it'll be interesting to see if we. He obviously done a thank you as well 18 hours ago. Grateful. He put grateful. Hashtag Fulham FC. Grateful for making him the potential player that he's going to be. I mean, Fulham are about to be absolutely raging. Absolutely raging. When you watch his Instagram, anyway, will he become Celtic's very own Welsh wizard? Will he become Celtic's Welsh wizard? So we spoke about Austin Trusty. It is, when we look at the Celtic team, it's starting to take shape for Brendan Rodgers slightly, but it's a case of we'll wait and see this Friday to how he plays and what players he does bring on. Celtic are only 3 days, 10 hours and 51 minutes to the first game of pre-season. Are you getting excited yet? The excitement of going to Queen's Park, I'm sure, is just going to be ecstatic for the guys that are going to go. It is a friendly. It is, it's telling me it's a 7:45 kickoff. I don't know if that's UK time or if it's Spanish time, just not even caring. I think it's 9:15 here. But anyway, it is what it is. So, do we have a sell-on clause for Greg Taylor? Is that a serious question? Asking for the Doug, because the Doug wants to know. A lot of people are saying that they were complaining that it's been a cheap window so far. It's been a cheap window. Look back many of my videos. I've spoke about managed decline many times on the channel, and you can manage a decline in expenses and keep on winning. So I've spoke about it enough. We took 10 million for Kyogo in January, but won't spend it on Mateus. It's shocking. I think the Mateus one's done and dusted. I think that's gone. I think we've moved on from Mateus a long time ago. I think it's the media that's still pushing for it. I think we tried to get him. At the last window, and I think Celtic have now went, fuck it, we move on from him. You don't go in and you bring in a Callum Osmond. You've got to think about the Celtic way of working. Bringing in players to sell on. And Celtic will have one eye, not on this summer, but on the next few summers where it's going to become more difficult to get into the Champions League. Do you think we'll look at Callum Osmond against Queen's Park? Yes. I think the Queen's Park one will be like the one last year. You got a full turnaround in players the first game. Mikey will be selling kebabs from the beach in sunny Greece. I hardly think he'll be selling kebabs. You know what I mean? He might partake in one or two late night. It's funny because the whole kebab culture in the UK is a late night thing, and it's a greasy. It's a different conversation. Anyway, we move on from it. There's not a lot of Celtic news kicking around this morning. There's odd speculation. Obviously, Celtic done that bit of business yesterday, which is absolutely fantastic. We'll wait and see what they do today, if anything. Will they do anything? It's going to be a difficult week for Celtic. Obviously, they have the game on Friday night, but they also have the funeral of John Clark to attend on the Friday. And the full first team and all the first team players in the squad will be at that funeral. So it's going to be a funny introduction to some of these these new Celtic players. They're going to come in and they're going to see really how big this club is, because they're going to see Celtic burying one of the famous players that won the Champions League, and the bus with the players in it will drive past Celtic Park, and these new players will see thousands upon thousands of fans outside the ground to pay respect to John Clark. And as a new player that's came from other clubs, it will be the first indication of how big this club is, and how important this club is, and how much the fans are entwined in the emotions of the club. And I think that some of these players will sit on the bus on Friday after being at the Mass. And I always remember Scott Brown's face when it was Tommy Burns' funeral. And I know that Scott was going through a hard time at that point in his life himself, after his sister had just passed away. And I always remember Scott Brown's face when he's looking out the window. And I think that day changed a lot of things for Scott when it came to Celtic. And I think it will do these players the world of good, because the emotion that they will see, and the togetherness in the fan base on that day. Now, the togetherness might not be there through the season. Let's not kid ourselves. Whilst it will be all amazing on Friday, the togetherness may not be there through the season like it is on most seasons when it comes to Celtic Park. I always want to go to Celtic Park on Friday to say goodbye, but I can't get off work, says Monty. I'm sure there will be thousands, because I've been to many of the funerals that have corteges that have passed Celtic, and the turnout is always fantastic. Anyway, what about progression in Europe this year and next year's campaign? I'm not too worried about the progression in Europe this year. I think that the journey will be to see if we can improve, and it depends on the draw. Let's face it does depend on the draw. And Brendan Rodgers, if we can keep the majority of this team together, Brendan Rodgers will know that we're going to the Champions League in a pretty good place, because if we lose too many of the first team stars, it will be then a case of you've got to get this team to push up a level, and getting players like Callum Osmond and Benji and that to push up this level in the Champions League. I mean, it's why they came to Celtic, let's be fair. They came to Celtic to play in the Champions League. But next season, let's just get this season dealt with first. I'm not even going to worry about the permutations of trying to qualify for the Champions League in years to come. Although the manager, the backroom staff, the money men may be thinking down the line, that's their job to do that. Our job as fans is to back the team and enjoy what's going to be a fantastic season for us, hopefully. Will there be ups and downs like the Champions League last year? Will we get absolutely thumped like we did against Dortmund? Will we get off to a flyer? Will we even qualify? That's all questions that's going to be answered in the next couple of months. Baz, do you think that Ricardo will have a breakthrough year as a number 10, or will he be loaned out? I hope for his own sake, and I hope for the sake of a lot of the B team players, that they're not loaned out. Because what does it say to them when you bring in a 19-year-old from the academy in Fulham and he walks straight into the team? What does that say to your 19-year-olds that are at Celtic that are on the verge of breakthrough? I hope that Brendan Rodgers stands by his words, and in the fact that he says that he brings through youngsters into the first team. I hope he stands by that this season, and I hope he makes a point. That's the question, Baz. Will we qualify, says Joseph. I think we will. I think that Brendan Rodgers is getting enough players in early this transfer window. I think the big issue last season is when we were in, we all know the issues last summer. We took too long. Brendan said we took too long, and give their board their due this summer. They have got bodies in. Whether or not it's made the squad better Whether I think Benji is Benji and Kieran Tierney. I mean, Kieran's just a direct replacement for Greg Taylor. We still need to sort out the left back position, whether we do it in house or bring someone in. And then there's will Callum Osmond be good enough at 19-year-olds to shine not only in the SPFL but the Champions League? And there's a whole 2 months of speculation to go before then. Anyway, there's no poll this morning because there's not enough time for it. Brian says if we make the Champions League football, well, that's when we'll spend the money. It'll have to be before it, because when we go into the Champions League qualifier, there's only days left. And I think that Brendan Rodgers and the board know that there's 40 million at stake. Do you seriously gamble on a 40 million pot of cash? I don't think so. I wouldn't. We've got the money in the bank. If it's going to cost 7-8 million for a really good midfielder, if we're going to go down the road and we're going to buy another striker because there's the possibility that Dyson Maeda may leave, we need to get it done and dusted quick. I don't want us to get to the end of the window and then somebody comes in and goes, you know what, there's 25 million for Dyson Maeda with 2 days left to go with the window, and we've qualified for the Champions League, and then we're going to have to go through it all again. I think that Celtic will try to get in early. KT signed at 17. He shined. Look at him now. But he came through the system. He knows what it's like. He knows about the pressure. Michelle, do you know it's okay that Callum Osmond coming in and things? He might get in at Celtic Park, and the overwhelming first time he gives the ball away backwards, and the crowd go, fucking put forward, you fucking shite, you're fucking shite. It happens. It happens with Celtic fans. You know, the first game at Celtic Park when we're not pushing forward and we do the old bring it back and push it side to side, and then the fans get on top of them, he'll go, fucking hell, man, it's 0-0, and you're giving us a hard time. What the fuck's that all about? He doesn't. You know, there's a whole new mentality that he's going to have to put up with, and that pressure. And it is pressure of constantly having to win every single game. Do you know, he's came from a club where it's you can get a 2-2 draw and that's a good result. A 2-2 draw is not a good result. Danny Cassie's in house. He says we'll win the league this year. I think so. Every player has a YouTube comp. Doesn't mean that he's absolute gosh. Yeah. Anyway, that is me done and dusted for this morning. If there's any breaking news this afternoon, I'm sure that we'll jump on and talk about it. Anyway, on that note, have an absolutely fantastic day, Celtic fans, wherever you are, all around the world.